is evangelism. So the Fishers of Men is a great course. And then friendship evangelism is very easy, or maybe it's easy to get things started. But but the third one is a little book track series called Back to the Bible, and it's a little threefold discovery learning. This these kind of things just get the juices flowing. Um, Another thing too, during the pandemic, we were the church building did not meet together. The church didn't meet together for about 8 or 9 weeks, just until they figured out what was going on, and then of course they opened the doors back open. But we did not start back a Sunday evening service, and so what we did as the church is we did home groups. Well, we might only have 65, roughly 50 to 60% come back on Sunday evening for second worship. But what we noticed was that in the home groups, we would get almost 80 something percent of the church involved in a home group, which meant they want relationship. They want commonality between one another. And so these were very, very, our elders overseeing each group. It was structured. It wasn't willy nilly, because I've seen those things go south. I've been at some small groups where I showed up and it was a barbecue and I left and I thought the only thing of God involved was the prayer for the food. And so it just wasn't as edifying. But anyway, this was during the pandemic, and there were baptisms, and there were people who were spouses and friends who were terrified of church buildings and terrified of that feeling of being, looked at. But they would come to somebody's house and talk about an issue like, divorced families or alcoholism or whatever, things that could really change their lives. And so in a very tangible way. But anyway, those are kind of some things that have helped me, that have always been beneficial to my work, as I'm trying to just do, Jesus' work in this world. So
That's
that's
right.
that's where I'm at.
So like when you had the like for friendship evangelism, let's say, or the back to the Bible, there's what's a like kind of something that happened that you did, maybe that people can understand how you use those things in a real situation. Like
Sure.
let's say let's go back to the Bible. So there's little tracks, right, that you can go through. What you're going to go out today and you're going to do something. What is like your strategy for taking that and turning it into an opportunity to talk about Jesus?
So one of the things that I will do is I will use the Fishers of Men intro, as I will say, "Hey, I'm taking a survey, and I'd like to, if you're willing, it's just 3 questions, and what do you think?" And that gets those juices flowing. And the Fishers of Men course is set up for a long period of time and a long study, which is good for a substantial conversion. It's a course and a process. Where Back to the Bible is very short, so it really just depends on the person. If the person is willing to sit down and have a let's break bread and let's get theological, then we're going to go heavy duty. But if they're, I live in Metro Atlanta, people are busy, schedules, traffic, blah. And so I can get a 10-minute conversation in at Starbucks and say, hey, next Tuesday, same time, what do you think? Or I'm having supper at my house Friday night. Would you like to come? Or whatever. So the gospel comes with a house key, and so you're inviting people over. Or one of the things you want to do, and this is what Fishers of Men taught me, is you want to seal the deal. So like when you're having a conversation with a person and they're curious, that's when you set the hook. Like fishing, you set the hook, and that's when you've got them. You've got their interest, and it sticks. It really sticks for those who are really curious. And so, but for a person today, I'm going to ask them just a series of 3 questions, religious questions, and you're not trying to tell them anything. You're just asking, and so you see how they respond, and that course will teach you how to respond to their response, which is good. Um, and you can tell whether people are interested or not. But just keep asking questions and say, you know, let's just say they do pick, will most people go to heaven? And you say, well, why'd you pick that one? Well, this and this, and my cousin, my aunt, this, that, and the other. That's great. Well, how do you feel though? How do you think? What do you really think is going to happen? Well, I don't know. And you say, well, I would too. I'd like to know. Would you want to study with me? And so depending on their time, um, go right into a study. Using these three, the back to the Bible. That's really for people who believe in God, and so who have like here in the South, most people have a rural church background at some point. Everybody goes to church on Sunday, kind of thing. Even though they might live like a heathen, they're going to go to church on Sunday. That's just the South, you know. Um, but if they're really interested, they'll sit with you and talk with you. And so you can do that with a friend, or you can do it with a total stranger. It really works.
That's awesome. So to recap, like, of course, like you said, pray first, which is very important. Make sure your heart is right. God doesn't want you talking to someone if you're not right with him.
Yeah.
So number one is pray. And then you talked about some resources like Fishers of Men, and then the friendship evangelism. If you have a friend and you love them, why don't you tell them about Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And then back to the Bible was a good resource. And the home groups, like getting people. I like what you said. What'd you say? The gospel comes with a key or something? What did you say?
Gospel comes with a house key.
House key. Yeah, I like that. Very good. That's a good one, man.
And
then
there's one guy here, who's doing great work in America, Rob Whitaker, and he goes out and he with the house to house work, and they do some campaigns, and his method is very it's different in some ways, and in some ways it's not. But one of the things that he does is he will he'll make a friend with a person, won't talk about Jesus, won't mention the fact that he's an evangelist or a minister or whatever, make friends with people, invite them over for supper, and never bring up church. And so the whole time they're there, it's friendship. We're becoming friends. And then the second or the third time, depending on the temperature of their heart, that's when you enter it. But not the first visit for the most part.
Hey, Jake, I just got you on the show so I could sell you some products, man.
Sure.
How do you feel? See, that's not gonna get our positive relationship, is it?
Yeah.
Like you got to be like, hey, I'm just glad to meet you, and I want to hear more about you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. So tell us a little bit. We got through the strategies, and they're great. So people can take these. They got some tools. You got a framework that you can use. The Fishers of Men. Find something that you can have as a bedrock, kind of to, jump off of when you're getting out there. And then tell us a little bit about how you can motivate us now. So everybody's heard some strategies. And what's some things they can do this week, and tell us the story, so tell us the end of that story, tell us another story, and then get into that call to action.
Yeah. So the end of that story is that she was just good soil. And when Ben Hogan, he studied weekly with her, and then a month later she was baptized into Christ, literally just this past week. And her name is Casey. So for everybody listening, pray for Casey. And that's hard to mess up, but it was very easy. Just she was just looking. And that's the thing, is there are people are looking and they're wanting an invitation. But let me go back to the one about, let me tell you the story about, I used the Fishers of Men while I was taking the Fishers of Men, walked into a gas station getting gas. And I thought, it's about week 3 or 4 in the class, and they're giving us these tools, and just seeing the harvest and testing the field. A lady behind the counter, I asked her those questions. Will most people go to heaven? Is Jesus God? And is there a God? And she picked, will most people go to heaven? And I said, well, why did you pick that? She said, well, I'm worried. My mother just had a stroke, and this and this and this. And I said, wow, I'm so sorry. Can I pray for her? And she said, yeah. And then this is her name, and this, and what's your name? And that was just it. Well, I'm Jake, and I'm a Christian. I worship over here, literally just half a mile from your gas station, and would love to see you. Well, I never saw her. But at the end of the course, 10 weeks later, I go back into the gas station. She's there, and she said, hey, let me tell you about my mama. So 10 weeks later, that seed was planted, and it made an emotional impact, and it resonated with her. She didn't forget my face. I mean, I could understand why, but emotionally and spiritually speaking, she was hooked.
You've been listening to Be Brave. The world right now is a crazy place, and sharing the love of God is the most important thing we can do right now. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit up gobebrave.org. Remember, the love of God is the most powerful force in the universe. Learn how to love like Jesus. See you next time.